Okay, so now that we've laid that groundwork, let's go ahead and transition into the 5 foundations for the future that we'll be covering tonight. So actually, if it's okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And you guys can let me know if you can see. I can see. All right, are we all looking at foundations for the future? Thumbs up. We're all good? Everybody can see that? Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so our first foundation that I want to go ahead and dive into tonight is selecting your major and choosing your career. Okay, now obviously these are two different foundations, all right, but I kind of paired them together because obviously they kind of go hand in hand. Obviously, selecting your major is going to coincide with choosing your career, and choosing your career is going to be based off a lot of times the major that you actually selected. Okay, so before I actually dive into this, I want to, like I said, package it not just to save time, but because they go together so well. But what a lot of people do when they're actually selecting their major, they just kind of think of it and take the approach of a bunch of names in a hat and kind of picking out at random. Well, I'm going to college. I know I need to do something, right? And that's not the approach that we want to take, right? We want to approach it with intentionality, and we want to be very purposeful in our decision making, right? Because what happens a lot of times when people don't have that intentionality up front, they end up circling back around, not by choice, to this very first step that I'm going to share with you, which is self-reflection. Okay, self-reflection is key. Before we even get to all the fun, glamorous stuff of selecting a major and choosing a career and what I want to do for the rest of my life, we have to have that moment of self-reflection. A lot of people skip this step and they actually end up going off on a trail that they never intended to, just because they stumble into something by accident. But we want to be intentional, and we want to make this decision on purpose. Okay, so the first thing that I encourage people to do when they're beginning their self-reflection to select their major and choose their career is think about this quote. All right, your childhood leaves crumbs for your calling. And this is actually a quote that I coined about 10 years ago when I was kind of going through my own process of trying to establish, man, what do I want to do with my life? You know, what type of major do I want to do? Am I in the right field? What do I want to actually focus on as I begin to move into my career? And I actually took this, the essence of this quote from the concept of Hansel and Gretel. Just raise your hand real quick, for those of us who are familiar with that story, Hansel and Gretel. The kids, okay, there we go. I see a hand. The kids who were lost in the forest and they had breadcrumbs, they left a trail of breadcrumbs so they could find their way back home. Okay. And I want you to look at your childhood in that same way of, hey, my childhood leaves crumbs for my calling. What do I mean by that? A lot of times we think about the things that we did as kids and say, oh, I was a kid, you know, I'm an adult now, I'm older now, I don't need to pay attention to those. But actually, you need to be putting a magnifying glass on what you were doing as a kid, because those are the things that are going to be most revealing. Were you the kid who was getting your little cousins together and coordinating a dance routine to perform for your aunties and your uncles when they came over, right? That's very telling, right? Were you the kid who was in the kitchen, you know, taking all your parents' ingredients and trying to cook something up and figure out what you can make, right? These are very telling things because they give clues for what your purpose is trying to tell you and the direction that it's trying to lead you toward for your future. Okay. And then, second, discovering who you are before trying to discover what you should do. This is a key one. A lot of people miss it, right? A lot of people like to jump the gun and just go straight to, well, I'm going to college. What should I do? Let me just pick something so I can have something and tell people that I have something. Okay. But in reality, you want to take the time in this self reflection to discover who you are first before trying to discover what you should do. What do I mean by that? If you're the type of person that hates heat, you don't like being hot, you're not the best with danger, right? You're not the type of person in that can see yourself, you know, going into some type of physical training, or, you know, really working with your hands, or putting yourself in a position where, you know, your life might be at risk. Do you want to become a firefighter for the rest of your life? Probably not. That's probably not going to be a thing, right? Right. That's why you want to first discover who you are. Maybe you're the type of person, hey, you know, I'm more relaxed, I'm more reserved. I want to do something more, you know, where I'm at a computer all day. I want to do something more where I work with my hands in a different way, right? That's why establishing who you are first is key to actually deciding what you should do. Because otherwise, you could pick something that you want to do and working backwards the other way doesn't really work. You want to start with identity first.